The show's about to start. Are you ready? Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Strawberry Ice. Welcome to the show. My name is Jeff. I'm the Iceman Trinable. I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the Cincinnati Bearcats and Bengals. Now, do me a favor. If you found this show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. I'm up to 1,128 subscribers. That is awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Now, this show and every show is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, today's a very special show. I have a very cool interview. He is the beat writer from the Bengals. He's none other than Jay Morrison. Hey, Jay, how you doing? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you doing this. So, how exciting or how much does it say about this team that every single player that was going to put the stripes on this year was at OTAs when they didn't have to be?
I think it says a lot. I think it says a lot about the players. It says a lot about the coaching staff as well, that they mediated and came up with an off-season program that the players would be willing to, I don't know if accept is the right word, but to participate in. I mean, we see it all around. The Browns are doing theirs right now, and they're at 60%. Some teams are lower than that. This is a team full of young guys. It's typically the older veterans are the ones that are kind of balking at going through this and still kind of hiding behind the pandemic as an excuse when really that is no longer an excuse. And it's just about it's all about doing less work and exposing yourself, not exposing yourself to injury.
Right.
That's a big part of it. But this is a team full of young guys that knows that they have a lot of work to do. And if you're going to wait till training camp, it might be too late. They already missed last offseason. They're not willing to miss another one. So it does. It says a lot about the makeup of the players in the locker room, but also the faith and the trust that they have in the coaching staff, that they're not going to overwork them, and they're going to get done what they need to get done, but they're not going to take unnecessary risk. Yeah,
and that's a really good point that you brought up there, the trust that the players have in the coaching staff, because a lot of people the last couple of years are wondering if the players, if they believe in Zach Taylor, if they believe in Lou, if they have the players have the coaches back. And I think this says yes, unequivocally yes, because they don't have to show up. And like you said, most players don't want to show up for more practice than they have to when it's, June. I don't really know they're putting all full pads on, but they are putting a helmet on and some shoulder pads and stuff, but not full pads. But still, it's hot, it's rainy. I think that says a lot as to how the players feel about Zach Taylor and this coaching staff for sure.
Yeah, there's no pads at all right now, and it's all voluntary. Next week will be the mini camp, and that'll be mandatory. That's when a team could fine a player for not showing up. And we've seen this in the past. Carlos Dunlap skipped OTAs. Can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. They all kind of run together.
Yeah,
but
right.
he came in time for the mini camp, and I think most of the players, if not all, that are still here do have Coach Taylor's back. And even one that's not here, Giovanni Bernard, was one of his staunchest defenders, and it just money-wise it didn't work out. But the ones that butted heads with the new direction are the a lot of the old Marvin Lewis veterans that are no longer here.
Right. I was just about to say they're all gone, and that brings you to the point this year that I think it's third year Zach Taylor. I think this is probably by far the most talented and the deepest team that Zach has had. And same goes with Lou. And I always call him Armadillo on my show because it's a joke, but I kind of refuse to call him by his real name until his defense gets better. But I think it's definitely a big year for them to, fish or cut bait. I think there's no longer the excuse that, well, they don't have all their players. Well, they're still, it's a young coaching staff. It's their young players. It's this and that. I think this year is the time for them to make a huge step forward into the future of what this team is going to look like and how this team is going to perform going on to the future.
Yeah, it really is. You see it in players. The third year is the year. That's where, you do see a leap once they kind of get through their rookie year, and you do see for most players a pretty sizable leap from rookie to second year. But it's that third year for the ones that haven't quite taken that step yet. That's where you figure it out, where, okay, either this guy, it comes on and the team is going to want him around beyond the rookie contract of year 4. Zach Taylor, same thing. He's going into his third year. This is the year where Mike Brown has to decide, right, he's the guy or he's not the guy. And I think they would have, it sounds obvious, but they would have been so much farther ahead had Joe Burrow not got hurt. I really think the playoff window opens this year. Yes. If he gets to have a whole season. We already saw it all starting to kind of click and come together, and the offense really taken off when he went down. And that was the easier part of the schedule coming up. Brandon Allen played well. This offense did some good things with Joe Burrow out. And you sometimes stop and think, what would have happened had Joe Burrow not got hurt? Where would they be right now? But at the same time, he's back. He's not 100% yet, but all indications are he's going to be when the season starts. And so this is it. If they get off to a slow start, I'm not sure Zach Taylor finishes the season. If they start 1-5, 2-6, something like that, they may pull the plug early. It's not typical of Mike Brown and the way the Bengals front office operates, but for years we've said, well, that's not the way they do business, but they're starting to do a lot of things differently. And I think if they get off to a good start, it'd be the complete opposite, where you've got so many young guys, so much confidence, so much brashness that all of a sudden, if they go 4-1, 5-2, something like that, you could see this thing just really clicking in a hurry and taking off. So I think the first month of this season is really going to be big for this team. Yeah,
I agree with you on that, and that brings me to my schedule prediction. Now, I always say I look at the Bengals through orange sunglasses, but to be honest, yes, my prediction of what the record is going to be is very bold, but it's very doable. I think if you can see that here, I have us 11-6, but
it's bold.
It's very bold. But the thing is, in every game, we got the best quarterback, and in most of those games, we have, in my opinion, have the more talented team. And the way they set the schedule up, everybody keeps talking about how this is a rough schedule. I think you guys are talking about this on your podcast, you and Paul Dana Jr., how they set the schedule up. And I couldn't agree with you guys more. It's actually perfect because you got the Vikings, the Bears, and the Squealers the first 3 weeks. Those are all winnable games. I think the Vikings might be the more difficult game to win there, but again, they have the best quarterback in all 3 games. So there's a very good chance you could be 3-0, 4-0, because you got Jacksonville after that, rolling into Green Bay. That is if Aaron Rodgers is there. So I think they did – whoever put the schedule together actually did the Bengals a favor, because to me, you want that the way that schedule's laid out is perfect because the harder teams are at the end, and who knows if they're going to be that hard of teams to beat at the end of the year or not.
Right. Well, yeah, you never know. That it's always the teams that there's a handful that you think are going to be really good, and it comes second half of the season and they're not. And if you can get off to a good start and you get into the second half of the season and you're in playoff contention and you're talking about playoffs, and then you kind of stumble in December against this murderer's row of what looks like really tough teams at the end of the season, you say, okay, we're not there yet. We made some progress. We got a few more steps to take. And it's not deflating. But if the other thing happens where you get off to a good start and then some of these teams that look like they're going to be aren't good, and you can really kind of just keep improving through November and through December, and all of a sudden find yourself in week 17, week 18, which still sounds weird to say.
Yeah, it does.
With a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, that's huge, whether you make it or not, as far as throwing you and propelling you into 2022 when that playoff window really truly opens.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's the playoff window for me should start this year because we have everybody signed. We got all our young guys; they're all signed for the next 3 years for sure, and that is the opportunity to grow this team and get it to where we want it to go. And I don't see any reason. I mean, obviously, it depends on how they progress, and obviously, it depends on how Joe Burrow's knee is. But to me, the playoff opportunity starts now. I don't want them to go, well, if we go 8-8, it was good. Like, no, and I think this is the Bengals mindset. That's why they're all at OTAs is we want to win now. We're tired of, win 6 games in the last 3 years or whatever. I think their mindset is they want to win now. And I think there's a very good shot that it could propel themselves into, I'm not saying win the division, but maybe we get a wild card, it can be close because if you look at I think it was the 04 season when Carson Palmer's first year starting, they went 8-8 that year. The next year, 05 was when they took off. And I'm kind of looking at it this way, you look at your past futures of what happened and what they did. Well, Palmer didn't start his first season. Burrow did. So hopefully that has helped Burrow advance enough in the second year farther than Palmer did. So hopefully maybe that's a projection that can get them farther along quicker.
Well, I mean, look at Palmer's second year of starting. It was one of the best offensive years this franchise has ever seen.
Exactly.
The thing is, you're right. It's the players, the coaches, the front office aren't looking at it as the playoff window doesn't open until next year. You can't play sports that way. You have to go into every season believing that you're going to get it done. I'm just, when I say that the window opens next year, I'm trying to be more in the realistic realm and kind of looking at it from an objective standpoint. I think a lot of fans do have optimism that the season could go well and hit that 11-6 mark that you said, but I don't think a lot of fans would be willing to put down a car payment or a house payment on that. I think it's wishful thinking, but it's not a smart bet at this point.
Yeah. Well, I kept looking at it and I was trying to and like I said, I look at it through orange sunglasses. I'm a very optimistic person. And I was trying to find something like, well, because I got them losing because people gave me crap because I got them losing to the Raiders, but I got them losing or beating the Chiefs. Like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, well, I don't really want them losing 4 games in a row at the end of the season, which they could. I mean, that's a murderer's row right there at the end. Yeah. So I flip flop. So I am by no means an expert at all. I'm just a fan with a YouTube channel and a podcast. But one thing also I thought was interesting that we found out through OTAs and Joe Burrow is not only did he rehab his knee faster than most people thought it would be, but he also has improved his arm strength. I mean, from CJ Uzama to Tyler Boyd to Higgins, they're all like, I got to put gloves on. My hands are stinging because he's throwing it so hard. Is that sustainable? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much you know about arm strength or anything, but is that something that he'll lose during the season? I mean, as far as you lose weight and all that stuff during the season. Is this a sustainable thing that his arm strength is here in June? Will it be there in December, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, it's not like his muscles are going to atrophy. It's and when you're dealing with rehab on a leg, on a knee, it makes sense that you can't do as much with that. So you're going to work the upper body. So that's what he did. And it's not just building the muscle. It's working on the mechanics and the throwing motion. And then when the leg is strong enough to get out there to actually drive off of and start throwing, you see that newfound velocity. And it happens all the time. I mean, you see this huge jump when guys go from high school to college, and they're still kind of growing at that point, but it's because you go from a guy that's making $1,000 stipend running a weight program to a guy that's making a career out of it. And then you get into the pros, and it's not your sport, it's your job. And you've got trained professionals everywhere. The weight staff, the strength and conditioning guys, the trainers, the cooks, the chefs in the team facility dining room. It's just everything they do gears you to making your body the best you. So I don't think it's anything. It's not a fluky thing that he's that much stronger and has that much more velocity on his ball. Now, maybe he's plateaued and this is it. This is as strong as it's not like every year he's going to that arm's going to keep getting stronger, but it doesn't need to. He's so accurate, and he's got such a nice touch on the deep ball, and he can make the throws he needs to make. You know, he may not be able to throw it 75 yards like a Mahomes, but he can throw a 25-yard out and put it right on the guy's hands. So I think his arm strength was fine, good enough last year. It's a bonus that he's added to it, and I think it's going to be fun to watch, because that was the main thing that was the only hole in his game last year was the deep ball. And even that, T. Higgins kind of put that on himself and not on Joe. It wasn't that Joe wasn't putting the ball in the right place. T. Higgins was just kind of showing his hands a little early, just needed to learn that nuance of how to kind of fake out the defensive back, not just get behind him and wait and grab it, not give it away with your eyes that the ball was coming. There's just so much room to grow for Higgins and Chase with Burrow and really all those guys. You know, his number one tight end, CJ Uzomah, only got a game and a half with him last year. I really do think this offense is going to be something special this year, and the defense doesn't have to be great. If that defense can get up in the 50% range, you know, rank around 16th to 18th in the league, this team's going to do pretty well. Yeah,
I mean, we can say the same thing about the defense, and we can say the same thing about the offensive line. They don't have to be great; they just have to be better, you know. And I mean, as far as the defense go, I actually think we're going to have a pass rush. You know, I mean, we had none. We had one guy last year. That was it, and we replaced him with Trey Hendrickson. Now, do you think is Trey? Some people say that was kind of a downgrade. I kind of looked at it as, you know, almost the same numbers, you know, same type of player. Him and Lawson. Do you think Trey Hendrickson is an upgrade or a downgrade, or is he about the same as Lawson? What's your opinion on him?
I think we're gonna have to wait and see. I think that the whole reason they made this move is they felt like they knew what Carl Lawson was. That what he was the last couple of years is what he's going to be, and they see growth potential in Trey Hendrickson. So I think that's the reason that they kind of made that swap. It wasn't an official trade. It was hey, we're not going to re-sign Lawson. We are going to sign Trey Hendrickson. But yeah, I think they can see him really taking a big leap. And, you know, the one thing that Trey Hendrickson benefited from in St. Louis or in New Orleans was he had guys, quality guys rushing off the other side. So Sam Hubbard is going to be a big part of what Trey Hendrickson can do, and vice versa. And, you know, if you get Larry Ogunjobi, who's thrilled to be a 3 technique now, that he feels like that's his best spot, and Cleveland didn't always use him that way. Even at Charlotte, they didn't always use him that way. He hasn't been a true 3 technique since high school. He's fired up about that. If you can get a push from him up the middle and get the 2 H's, Hendrickson and Hubbard, coming off the edge, maybe Lou starts getting a little more aggressive and dialing up some blitzes with some of the young linebackers, or we saw them sign Mike Hilton, the slot corner, who was one of the best blitzing, probably the best blitzing slot corner in the NFL. I do. It can't be worse. That's the one thing. The pass rush cannot be worse, but I do think it's going to take a sizable leap this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with that. And I'm very excited to see Joseph Osai and Sample as well. And I like Tyler Shelvin. I mean, I call him Big Daddy Bayou. That's kind of my little nickname I've given him. But I think he could be a steal in the draft, as long as he keeps his weight under control, which looks like he's been able to do here as far as OTAs and stuff going. But there's talent on this defense line, and the thing with Lawson, that where they say he plateaued, I think Lawson would get to the quarterback, but he couldn't get him down, because I remember one of the games against the Squealers where he's rushing Ben and he's wrapped around Ben's legs and trying to get him down, and Ben just goes whoop.
That's every defensive end ever.
Right, exactly. But it just seems like it's worse when it's the Squealers for us. Like,
right.
Why don't we hand him? Can we get him down? So hopefully Hendrickson and Hubbard can get to him, and Joseph Wasai and Sample. And I have, like you said, it's going to be a better defense no matter what. It's got to be better. It can't be any worse.
Well, maybe their best pass rushers are their corners. If you've got corners that can cover and make the quarterback hold it a little bit longer, I think this cornerback group is going to be better, and vice versa. I think some of these defensive linemen can make the cornerbacks better. It all works in concert, and I think they've upgraded. Well, they've obviously upgraded defensive line, but I think this secondary is upgraded from last year as well. So kind of what you mentioned with the offensive line falls in line with the defense as a whole. Just doesn't have to be great, just has to be average. You put that same thought process in with these young linebackers who nobody's really established themselves yet, but as long as you don't have any goats out there, any donkeys, as we like to say, they'll be good. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought up the secondary, because it's, the cornerbacks are all completely new. Trey Henderson.
Trey Waynes, yeah.
Thank you. Too many Trays. Trey Waynes, yes, he was on the team last year. He never played. So you basically got all new cornerbacks. Like, Jesse Bates and Von Bell are still there. But I think it's an upgrade. And I'll go to another thing you guys were talking about in the podcast. It's better than Sims.
Yes, that was, I don't know what they thought they were getting in that guy, but they didn't get it. It was, it was a decent free agent class. Just kind of got bit by injuries, but he was kind of the one mistake they made in that free agency signing last year. And it's not just the three new ones. They got Eli Apple too, and Ricardo Allen. They've got a lot of new pieces in that secondary. And then you've got Jesse Bates, who's arguably the best safety in the league, and Von Bell, who struggled a little to kind of fit into this system. On the field, he walked in and earned a captain job and was an instant leader on this team. But he played better as the season went along. And I think you put those solid guys at safety over the top, and good corners, and this secondary is going to be better. I'm not ready to say it's going to be a top 10 unit. That would be crazy at this point. But again, same thing. Get in the middle of the league and you'll be fine.
Well, the thing is, like you just said, with Eli Apple and Ricardo Allen, it's deeper, and that's one of the things I really like about this team in general. I think because last year we got hit by so many daggone injuries that the guys behind them. We were pulling guys off the street to put that defensive line, and in the secondary too. But this year they have, if God forbid it happens again, we get that injured. But injuries happen; people are going to get injured. I think the guys behind them are better than what we had the last couple of years.
Yeah, Darius Phillips has proved that he can be a starting corner in this league. He hasn't proved he can stay healthy, but just having a guy like that, and then you add in Eli Apple and just, Tony Brown, Winston Rose, those guys that were kind of fringe guys last year. Maybe they stick around on the practice squad, and you wouldn't feel awful if you had to, pull one of those guys up and dress them for a game if a guy was out for a game or two. Right. The roster's not where it needs to be, but it's better top heavy wise than it was last year, and it is definitely better depth wise.
Yeah. And now you bring up Darius Phillips, and everybody is talking about the punt return game. Who's going to do that since Erickson's gone? I put my hand in for Darius Phillips. I think he would be the best guy that I can think of right now on that it's actually done it on the team to do it. I know some people said Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of Bengals fans like Puka Williams, which I think they just want to go Puka while they're in the stadium. But I don't know. How do you feel about Darius Phillips being the punt returner, or who do you think's got the best chance at it right now? I know.
I think Trent Taylor's in the mix.
I forgot about Trent Taylor. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He did it for San Francisco, and I don't know. I would lean toward Darius, but when he first came in the league, he struggled with drops a lot, and it wasn't just in games, in preseason games. It was in practice and training camp quite a bit. And I don't know if the coaches ever fully got their confidence back in him. They did to some degree because they were using him in games, but I just there's just some disconnect there with this coaching staff and Darius Phillips, where they just it seems like he earns his chance and he just never can get it. So that might be, there's not going to be a lot of position battles in camp, which is weird to say for a team that won 4 games last year. But I mean, left guard and punt returner, that might be it. I mean, it feels like all these other positions are set. So it will be interesting to see, and we will have preseason games. So I would expect to see a heavy rotation in all 3 preseason games, so they kind of get a feel of who is going to be the guy to do it. I would, if I had to pick a guy right now as the leader in the clubhouse, I would say Darius Phillips, but don't rule out Trent Taylor. Just the fact that he's done it before, and I think it's a pretty close to a dead heat race right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad you brought him up. I completely forgot about him. But did you? I saw you notice the Jackpot Joey Burrow sign yesterday at the practice facility. That's my buddy Matty Myers. So their shirts and everything that he's putting out, and all the proceeds go to the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Foundation. So we were asking about that on Twitter yesterday. So I figured, hey, come on my show. I'll let you know what we got going on with that. So it's always
funny. My wife actually works with, I believe it's his uncle Ed Meyer.
Oh, really?
And I guess Ed had seen my tweet as well, because he walked up to my wife at work yesterday and said, "I know who hung that sign." And my wife was like, I guess you know what he's talking about. And I was like, yeah, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah. I was supposed to go help him put the sign up, but I couldn't get off work in time to go help him. He already had it done by the time I got off work.
Oh, did he just hang it yesterday?
Yeah, he just hung it
okay.
yesterday. So yeah, hopefully we get some. I mean, only thing I have to do with it, I just promote it on the show. He makes the shirts, and he's done all of it, not me. I'm just the mouthpiece for him. So all right, let's wrap this thing up here. I said you gave me a half hour. That's great. One quick question: now you've heard me how optimistic I am about the Bengals, and like I said, I look at everything through orange-colored sunglasses. How optimistic are you for this Bengals season this year?
Well, to make the playoffs, or just to be competitive, or what?
Let's go with making the playoffs. Let's go with that one.
I'd say 30% chance. I think there's still too much to do. The division is too tough. The schedule as a whole is too tough. But as you said, and as we've talked about on the podcast, it's laid out perfectly with all those NFC teams up front. If it does come down to a tiebreaker situation, those games don't count. So if there is a little bit of a slow start, then that helps you out. And conversely, if those easy games, what appears to be easy games up front, end up being that way, and you get off to a hot start, and all these strong personalities come together quickly, and the confidence just shoots. I mean, it can happen, but I'm more in the 8-9, 9-8 camp. I think that's the goal. Get to 500 this year, and then make that huge leap next year. Kind of like we saw with the Carson, Marvin Lewis's first 2 years, 8-8, which felt like playoffs.
That was unbelievable. I think Bengals fans are ready to rip their shirts off and go streaking. For 8-8. I mean, we just came out of the decade and a half of the 90s where we were lucky if we won 4 games like we did last year. So 8-8 was unbelievable.
Yeah, and this drought hasn't been as long, and it hasn't been as bad. The last 2 years have been really bad. Obviously, picking in top 5 2 years in a row, but it feels like that's the next logical step. And can they take a bigger step? Absolutely, but maybe not. Don't try to bite off too much this year. Just kind of get everybody. It's still not only a young team. You bring in all these veterans in free agency, which they've never really done much of. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that need to learn each other. And even last year, they made that huge free agency class, but you didn't have OTAs. You didn't have that chance for these guys to kind of bond and build that camaraderie. And that's another reason why the the 100% participation OTAs this year is so big, because it's not just what they're doing on the field. It's when they're hanging out in the meeting rooms and in the cafeteria and in the locker room. They're getting to know each other. They're making plans to hang out after practice and when they get their break here in 5 weeks. So all that plays a part. It's just, it's a lot to ask for it all to come together just super fast this year. Just build it up a little bit. And I think 2022 can be a really fun year.
Yeah. Either way, I think this is going to be a way more fun year this year than it was last year. I mean, like you said, last year, and I'm with you. I mean, last year it was starting to click. I know we threw the ball because that's all we could do. With that offensive line, we couldn't run it, but it was starting to click. It was starting to get really fun. I mean, Joe Burrow had, I think, 3 or 4 games of over 400 yards passing. Is that am I right on that? Or
I would have to go back and look. I think you're close. I think there was 3.
Yeah, somebody. So I mean, it was starting to click, and that's where we're like, oh my goodness, it's so frustrating with that. But if he could pick up kind of where he left off, which, like you said, starting in OTAs, and I don't know if I really want him in a preseason game, but listen to Joe Burrow talk. He goes, I wouldn't mind getting in there. He said he's got to wait and see what the ownership and coaching staff says. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if he's in for a series, just because I didn't think he would be back, this soon. But these are all things that we get to look forward to, and it's fun. We get to look forward to a potential winning season instead of like last year was all. How long are they going to keep Bobby Hart? How long, when's this going to, the whole thing last year, Joe Burrow's going to get injured, and which unfortunately it happened. But this year it's more of, I think, optimism. Things are going in the right direction. The Bengals have done the right stuff for 2 years in a row, and it's just a lot of fun to discuss it. Anyway, I could talk your ear off. I do this. I do this for an hour every day. I'll be doing it again here at 5:30. But Jay, I appreciate you coming on. And anytime you ever want to come back on again during the season or anything, just hit me up and I will gladly have you come on. We talk Bengals again. And, tell everybody where they can follow you about your podcast and all that stuff too.
Yeah, the podcast is here. That podcast growling on The Athletic. During the season, we have some free episodes. You don't have to be a subscriber to listen to it. You can also follow me on Twitter at Jay Morrison ATH. And we've got a lot of it's the season is coming up, the off season where the team is gone for 5 weeks, but Paul and I are going to have a lot of content for you guys in that little dead time, and then we'll ramp it back up at the end of July when the team comes back and training camp gets going, and all of us have no free time whatsoever for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yes, you guys will be busy. That's the I guess good thing. This isn't really actually my job, but so I don't have to do it. I just choose to do it. People think I'm crazy. You do this every day. I'm like, yeah. What do you talk about? I don't know. I always find something to talk about. So anyway, Jay, I appreciate you coming on, and you have a wonderful day and who day.
All right. Thanks. Good talking to you.
See ya. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. We will be going live, like I said, at 5:30 today. So make sure you guys check us out then. I'm going to have, again, I forgot his name, but he's the ticket from the Bengals ticket office. They're going to be on the show today talking about the open house coming up this weekend and Bengals season tickets and where we're at with that. So let me get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream, and I appreciate every single one of you. Even though this isn't live, this is taped. But it's Who Dey Nation, Cincinnati Bengals, the Jungle, Bengals Nation, Bengals Who Dey Nation, Cincinnati Reds rounding third, heading for home, Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar. You can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Twitter the handle is at Jeff A. Trunapole. I'm also on TikTok, and the handle there is Iceman90. I will pull the sound off later on today, so if you can't sit there and watch our interview for an hour, you can listen to it on the podcast on BeanPod, Apple iTunes, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. YouTubers, 1,128. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's keep it rolling. Try to get to 10,000 as fast as we can. And other than that, as my boy Jeremy D would say, remember one thing and one thing only, and that is you don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati, so act like it. Who Dey? And that's just sports, baby. See ya!